As promised in the previous video, here's the process of me sculpting this ogre that I'm making for my Chaos Warband. I start out by defining the general shape of the miniature by using, since it's a really meaty miniature, it doesn't have much armor on it, I just use a simple sphere shape to define the body. The body shape. I go here, moved around the meshes to define the body shape. I want to make it very chunky, but in the first steps I just define the general torso, and I just go for the head, as I really like. It's probably my favorite thing to do, heads in general. Here I define a little more the shape and then sculpt more details onto it. For the eye, I will just create the socket by using the negative brush tool, was the clay tool. Also, I use another mini on the side to have a size reference to how much big every miniature should be compared to each other. The miniature on the right is one of the warriors, which is the basic unit, and the ogre are a bigger unit. Also, I steal one of the eye. I make a copy of the eyeball of the warrior, so I have also a general sense of the same proportion for the ogre. I will make the eyeballs a little bigger, but that's about it. I will just add more defining factor, like I use the crease tool to define sharp lines. Also, a trick I like to use is create here for the hair I use cylinders instead of sculpting the ear on top of the sphere mesh. I think it's much easier to do this trick. I really don't know how hair is supposed to be, so I just vibe along with it, you know. Also, like, part of my workflow, even when I draw, is to improvise a lot, because I don't really visualize things clearly on my mind, let's say. I don't know if you ever saw those Fantasia post. So I just go along with how the thing goes. And I also get surprised a little when I make. I also then add the ears to the... Oh no, I don't know, I missed it. I think I just merge the ears to the head, and now I'm going over the body, defining a little more the details and stuff. I also like to make chunky miniatures, so because I don't have a resin printer, I actually have a FDM printer, a Bamboo Lab, and I think having more compact minis helps the print for me, at least. And also I think people that don't have a resin printer can appreciate easier minis to print. Here I define a little bit the start of the arms. I will keep it the shape symmetrical for now, but then I will go over it and break the symmetry. I will keep one tip I recommend in general is to keep a copy of your work in progress. So if you these serve two functions. If you mess it up, you can always go back and use the previous step you made for the miniatures. And also, if you are making, I'm doing, where you make multiple of the same character, like this is just the first ogre of a troop of 3. So if you keep a work in progress around, you can use that as a reference to build up and create some more variation of the same minis. Here I define also the leg. they will be chunky as well. Everything of this guy is oval shape. I try to define a little bit the shape, even if half of this will be covered somehow by clothes. And yeah, I open up. I remember opening up a anatomy sketch of the human body, because it's always good to have reference when you work on stuff like this, you know. And sometimes I'm not really one thing you can be sure to learn from me or from method in general when drawing is that I'm not really precise. I just go along the way, you know. But here I try to define a little bit the muscles, even if they are not the most anatomically correct. But I think they will serve their function once it's done. Here I define the booty. Also, sometimes you have to go back and watch the how big it is compared to the other miniature. Because like I want to be the heavy guy, so they even are on a bigger base, as you can tell. Because I tried to make them as generic as possible. Like I want them to work both for uh, old world and one page roll. Because the more use case they have, the better it is. So yeah, here I work on the pose, start working on the pose, as you can notice. So I try to fit the leg in a not symmetrical pose as much as I can. I still have to work a bit on that. So yeah, I help myself with the mask tool once the shape is still not defined and stylized. So I can cut out the shape I want to rotate compared to what I want to stay still, and then move everything around. Then I merge like the knee and the lower leg so I can start sculpting properly. I should also try to do this. That I still have to learn, but I think there is a way that you can make so that the two symmetrical meshes are sculpted together, even if they are in different, if not in a symmetrical position. But in this case, I sculpted one by one instead. But I think there is the when you confirm how you say when you confirm a symmetry in sculpt, it will ask you if to make them connected or not. In this case, I think I choose to keep them separate, but you can do. I should try the trick I just explain instead next time. Here I still define the ankle. Here I hide the other model to avoid having it in the way now that I'm more sculpting in a precise spot, which is covered by the miniature. So when you work on stuff like this, remember to always make your environment as comfortable as you can. Here I try to imagine how a big fit will be. And also rotate it in the right position so I can have the best pose I can make of this. Here I pose the arm a little. I will go back and forth of them a little bit more later, especially after I give this guy clothes and stuff. Here still posing. Here I define a little more the upper leg. I use grease to create a muscle separation, and then I will sculpt a little more off of them to in the shape I created to define the shape. Honestly, it's hard to me to explain my workflow in a sense, because like I really improvise most of the time. I don't really know how the end result will look exactly like, because like I prefer to just wing it most of the time. Here I think I did the trick I explained before, where I have collected the same mesh connected, and here I realized that I still have a mirror on the upper arm, so I have to apply the mirror, otherwise I will have the double forearm like that. Here I realize, and I apply everything. So I can merge the upper arm with the lower arm on the left side of the character. Still working on the pose. I also rotated the head a little more to avoid being too symmetrical. Here I start sculpting the other leg. And this, I just try to make it symmetrical by eye, which I don't recommend, but yeah, sometimes you just have to do it. I could have just copy-paste and flip the other leg at this point, but I'm not. I made the better decision in my life, let's say, and I will make it worse of them, of course. Here I define the toes. Also, I want the mini to be standard on the same level, so after I finish sculpting them, you will see me create a box, a boolean box, let's call it like that, where you would use boolean to delete a specific section of a mesh by using another mesh as a reference to where to delete. And I put everything in a way that I could delete just in a flat area under the feet of the character, so it will stand properly. That's it right now. We create two copies because the legs are separated. I still try to figure out the best pose for the character. I recommend doing this also when you're already done. You can smooth the mesh out. I recommend doing it where the mesh is not really defined, it's more flat, because you can destroy details that way. You can see I'm in normal sculpt. You have to put a hidden mesh to create the boolean. I create two, and there we go. Now it will fit properly on the base. Here I think there we go. This is defined. Here I start making some clothes for the character. I start making a belt. I will delete later because you have two ways. Well, for making clothes, there are more or less the same shape of the character. You use the same shape of the character actually by making a copy of the mesh of the body and then deleting the section you want the clothes to end. I tried to do it for the belt, but I will delete it later and make just a cylinder for it instead. Here I also created the, let's say, skirt of the bottom skirt or whatever it's called in English, where I just define the shape like this and then cut it out with the trim tool to create some more shape to the and interest to the clothes. And then I will also create some how you call them, where it's yeah, this one. I create all the waves on top of the clothes. I don't know the term right now, sorry for that. I'm not first language English, as you can tell. Here I create some pants. I'm basing this off of paper miniatures I made for them, and they had the leg covered like that. Here I create this. I use a mask, and then I will how you say, create. I will extract the shape from the mask. Here I fuck up the face. I will probably delete this late, but yeah, I don't know what I did. I think I fudged it up, and I will close and reopen the software to make yeah, I don't know what it was making. I tried to make copies of it, and both of them got squashed like this. I will keep them. I will keep these for funsy. But yeah, it was. I didn't know what was I making wrong, so I had to hope I didn't fudged up all the project. Sorry, here you see me scramble making copy files. But after I managed to solve everything, I wanted to try modifying the face, making more of a smile. 42 teeth smile, but in the end I just keep it like that. Here I will create some ankle bracelet. As I made them like the pants, as easy as that. And then I will sculpt them a little bit more. Yeah, I will take this opportunity to say I will try to my best to finish this within September or so. I want to make in the end 3 ogres, one of these, and then the 2 other with standard bearer and musician. I want to make a fully a 10 unit of Chaos Warrior, and this unit will be a multi-component kit where you will be able to combine the parts, have more option, so you can have several of them. They will also have captain, standard bearer, and musician as well. Then I will make a chosen unit of 5. I will probably also try to add a standard bearer and musician option, but they will also be a multi-component kit. Finally, I will put some leader option like the Havoc Master or Chaos Lord, with also the option to have a mage version of it. And I will also make as you saw from the previous video, I will also put a Manticore miniature as a mount option for the masters and general lord. Here you can see I discarded the old belt and made a new one with a cylinder. You can just sculpt around and with it. I will also make a simple lock for the belt. I will copy paste and modify a little the clothes for also some more gear on the legs. Here I create a how you call them? I'm keeping forgetting English terms. I don't know English. But yeah, the shoulder thing, the shoulder protection for more details to paint. Here I define a little more the thing, and then I will copy it for the other side. Adapting the belt and the closer to it. Here I try to figure out the pose for the arms. Here at this point is just, aside from hands I will make later, it's about mostly adding details. Right now, here I create let's call it shirt for the character, but it's more of a top now that I think about it. Yeah, same thing, extracting it from a mask and then adapting the details on top of it by moving everything around, and then make it not so dense, so detailed as the actual skin, because they are close, they are adherent but not that much. Here I start creating the weapon for the character. I will just go with a trusty mace for it. So I will define the shape. I start by making it symmetrical, but then I will just break the symmetry since it's a brute mace. As you can see, I just add more details. I kind of following the same concept I had for the paper mini I made for it. Here I use symmetry to create more of them, more of these metal part of the mace, trying to figure out how to put them on every angle, and then I just realized, let's copy the mirror and not add more symmetry to the mirror. Here I detail the shape a little more to be more flat instead of spherical. And just getting along with it. Yeah, most of how I sculpt is just improvise. Sometimes stuff I also have been using 3D software for a while, and sometimes you have just to bash your head against the wall in a sense and figure out what's best for you. Because like sometimes you have several ways to do the same thing, you know, but sometimes it works better for you one of them. Here I just break completely the symmetry. I just excavate a little more of the base. Let's smooth everything out. Here I adjust the pose a little more, because I didn't find much sense for the arm to be bent away. Here I scale it a little down, because like another worry you have to have with miniatures is, especially if you do rank and flank stuff like I'm doing right now, is to avoid the miniature to push each other off. Here I start making the first stand. I will copy paste it on the beginning because one it's open and one it's close on to the maze. Here I use tubes for the fingers so I can put them in shape in a more clear way. Here I create a clone for it because I already know I will need another one. And from here I added the other things and then move the other things onto the other hand. But yeah, sometimes like there are lots of tutorials aside from, well, this is not of a tutorial, it's much just a commentary on my work or my workflow. But yeah, you just you try to follow the tips you are given, and sometimes you have to figure out stuff yourself anyway. And like you have to practice a lot. That's the thing. Is that is oh yeah, it's this usual meme of oh you have to practice. It's true because I think art is a muscle in the great scheme of things. You have to keep it trained. You have to figure out the best way you work with that. Because the thing is, many people thinks that art is just one way, when in reality is you have so many options for everything, for drawing, for sculpting, for music. You have a limited option on how you should work, and you have to find the best. On a side, there is a good thing that no, but there is no way to force the same method on everybody, at least for now. But the thing is, you have to find your own way. That's the bad thing. You have to practice because not because oh you will get better, but you will get the best method you will find yourself working with. If I can explain myself. So sometimes you have to mess up. That's the thing. Sometimes you will get a result you will not be happy with, but that's the part of the process. You have to you have to start enjoying failing in a way. It's hard to do. I did have trouble accepting it, but in the end, sometimes even because sometimes you have to throw away works you have done, and you think it's great. Maybe you even think it's great, but you understand that you have to improve upon that, and that's like you will never stop to learn. That's the thing. You will always have new things to learn, new techniques, new art form. Like I jump from art form to art form because I can't stop myself from it. So yeah, experiment a lot. Here with the end, you see me use tube. Then I add that to the end and try to make the fingers flat, fingertips flat to better suit. And then I will move everything around to make it more a proper hand for this guy. Also, a trick I use after a while, after I finish the hands, is adding a wristband to both of them to so I can use. I could give me the option of using multiple arms or maybe multiple weapons attached to the arms. You know. Also, here I was chatting with a friend that knows their deal with the sculpting, and I was asking them advice on how to improve. Another thing you have to learn is to ask for help. Yeah, like you have, in specifically, they told me to exaggerate. In miniatures, you have to exaggerate because stuff is printed so small. So sometimes, even if the model looks off by having the details exaggerated, especially for like the separation pieces, here he told me make it a little more chunky, a little more fat, so it's more defined. So I will do that after I finish editing the rest. Here I realized I made a mistake. But yeah, I try to exaggerate details. I try to make it more sharp here and there. I try to define better the details. Because in the end, art works a lot on contrast. Like when you have a shape and you don't, when you have a flat area and then you have a line on top of it. You have to figure out this stuff. Here I start adding more details to define better the shape of the miniature, even if I'm still missing a hand to work on. Here I finish the last bit, which is the left hand. And another trick is, since you will connect the fingers one by one, at least I recommend it, you start from the index and the pinky finger, so you have less finger to mess up when working together, because if you work with the mesh close, you might mess up the closer finger, so might as well start with the two most separate finger and then work on towards the center instead. I go index, pinky finger, then the middle finger, and then the ring finger. But yeah, sure. If you like this kind of, let's say, it's more of a train of thoughts while watching my footage, let me know if you like it, or if I have to explain specific stuff. I'm terrible as. Sometimes I think I'm terrible as explaining stuff. I'm not really explaining much. I try to give you a commentary and maybe some tips along the way, but you know, I'm still learning to teach as well. So, and this video is very improvised. Yeah, it's almost over. As you can see, and soon I will create more extraction of the some mask and extraction technique onto the wrist to create the wristband, so I can connect different lens to every character. At least that way I can create some option for the miniature. Here I try to make the finger make more sense and give the right size to them. Still finishing some details here and there. And here I will create the wristband, I think. There you have it. Again, thank you for watching this video. If you have any question or suggestion, feel free to comment anything onto the video, and see you next time.